of the World Economic Forum Africa meeting. We'll take you live now to the next session, which is on securing the future.
You know, Africa have two faces. The first one is these dark faces, and we should not shy away of it. We have the dark faces that in many areas of conflict. I just came back from South Sudan. You know, the body of the women is used as the proxy. It's a proxy war. You know, you have the extreme who are fighting what cause, you don't know, but they are using the body of the, today the girls, what the girls have done. They demanding the right to education. I have heard one of the girls who say, even now, after being kidnapped and I escape, I will go back to school. What are we doing? Denying them the right to be at school. This is a fundamental right. So what we need to do is to bring them back to school. The other face of Africa, as you say, it is the issue of growth, which is not an inclusive one. I will call it an exclusive because it's really target the big issues. Infrastructure, you name them. It's good for our economy. But how it is going down, trickle down, and go to the women and the population and create more jobs and opportunities, that's the other question. A lot of growth, high-level growth, but still not impacting on the life of our population. So here I am as a leader of a women's organization, AU Special Envoy on Women, Peace and Security. Welcome, Vice President, Vice Chairperson of the African Union. This is my boss. So I just wanted to highlight why we should continue to work with the World Economic Forum, with the private sector, because we need to tackle some of the root causes of this conflict. So for me, I will come back to this, but it's important that the private sector, the government, and civil society work together to work, you know, to eradicate the root cause of this conflict that we are seeing in our continent.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Job. We'll come back to you and welcome Mr. Mwensha. Welcome also, Dr. Kaberuka. Good to see you. And so we just finished talking about, of course, you know, what everybody is talking about currently, not only in Africa, but around the world, which is the abduction of these 234 girls on this, in this country. And then saying that actually when you attack education, then you're attacking the future. You know, then that has to stop, on the words of Madam Job. But I just would like to add that dealing with emerging threats, you know, of course you're talking about terrorism, but you know, there's a lot of other reasons, and you started touching on them, which is why what fuels this, inequalities, more and more, you know, fueling this. You know, we also have some other threats, like cyber threats on this continent, which are going to be more and more, you know, out there in years to come. But turning now to stay on this religious intolerance aspect, which you have touched on, Madam Job, I want to turn to His Excellency, the Prime Minister of Mali, and ask him, you know, we have a situation in northern Mali. And je vais parler en français. Nous avons une situation au nord du Mali. Et on a tous suivi cette situation-là. Et bien entendu, c'est une situation au nord du Mali, mais aussi c'est une situation sous-régionale, parce que c'est dans le Sahel. Est-ce que vous pourriez revenir sur nous un moment sur quelles sont les causes de ce conflit-là et qu'est-ce qui est en train d'être fait aujourd'hui, non seulement au Mali, mais au niveau sous-régional, pour gérer ce conflit-là? Je vous remercie.
Merci, M. Ba. Comme vous le savez, et comme beaucoup de personnes l'ont dit, ce qui se passe au nord de notre pays a plusieurs causes. Les faits en 2012, c'est que notre pays a été occupé sur 2/3 de son territoire par une coalition de djihadistes, terroristes et de groupes rebelles. Donc nous avons essentiellement des facteurs exogènes et nous avons aussi une situation interne qui a été favorable à ce que ces facteurs exogènes ont pu entraîner les désagréments que ça a causé. Sur le plan interne, nous avons depuis une cinquantaine d'années des relents de rébellion sur une partie de notre territoire, rébellion revendiquant la scission du Mali. Et cette rébellion a été plusieurs fois traitée de plusieurs manières, mais il faut constater que tout ce qui a été fait pendant les 50 dernières années n'ont pu permettre à ce que la rébellion soit résorbée. Donc on a une rébellion de groupes armés formés en majorité de nationaux, de compatriotes, qui revendiquent une partie du territoire. Nous avons aussi, et c'est le facteur le plus grave, une présence depuis une douzaine d'années de groupes terroristes djihadistes venant d'Algérie pour une grande partie et d'autres parties du continent. Et avec une présence tolérée, une présence en tout cas non combattue par l'État malien. Et donc, cette présence a pu progressivement se cancériser et finalement se transformer en tourment et en tourbillon qui a emporté tout sur son passage. Nous avons aussi comme facteur exogène la crise libyenne qui a pu entraîner un reflux de troupes armées combattant aux côtés de l'armée du guide Kadhafi et qui, avec la défaite, ont reflué sur notre territoire, venant s'ajouter à ce que j'ai décrit tantôt. Et enfin, vous avez, depuis une quinzaine d'années, le narcotrafic et le trafic d'êtres humains qui ont pris de l'ampleur dans cette partie de notre territoire. Donc, l'ensemble de ces facteurs, en se combinant, a pu entraîner ce que nous avons déploré en 2012, c'est-à-dire l'occupation d'une bonne partie du territoire national. Aujourd'hui, le territoire est libéré grâce au concours des amis du Mali et de l'armée nationale et un processus politique en cours de mise en œuvre, parce qu'on a bien conscience, et c'est une réalité, que la rébellion armée ne se résout pas uniquement par la force armée. La rébellion armée se résout essentiellement par des discussions politiques accompagnées par
dialogue. You also have supporting moves to ensure that we'll be able to have a return to normal situation. We also have at the international level, we also had an initial response to the situation with the Sahelian countries, including Niger. We also have Senegal and Mauritania. Of course, we have Algeria and also Chad and Burkina Faso. All these countries are becoming more and more involved in finding a solution to the Malian crisis because of a central position in the region, and wants to have a regional response. Of course, we shall have the security aspect of it, but we shall also have a social and economic response so that we can generate development. This is a process that began with the restoration of democracy in 2013, and this process will take all the time that will be necessary, but we need to recall that we have to get a definite solution to this problem, which unfortunately has been on for many years. I will still come back to you, sir, but I will also ask the Prime Minister of Niger, Excellency Rafini. Excellency, sir, you know we have a regional response. It's not just a Malian problem. The Sahel is a vast region. We have people who are more or less of the same origins. Excellency, could you share with us this regional response and what is it? What does it look like these days? And could you shed more light on what His Excellency already began to talk about in the the sense that we cannot just have a military response, we also have a social and economic dimension. Thank you very much. Let me say, first of all, that before I answer your question, let me seize the opportunity to thank the Nigeria, which is a brother country, and for inviting us to this forum. And I want to express the sympathy of Niger for our neighbors, and we are very much in support. We support you, and we shall continue to support you in these very difficult times that Nigeria is going through, and we shall make sure that we pull out everything necessary to help Nigeria, just like other countries, so that we shall be able to put an end and stamp out this situation, so that our children, the girls, can go back to school, and that this neighboring country, we shall have peace. Now, on the theme that we are talking about, of course, we know that security for the future security of Africa. In fact, when we talk of security in this West African sub-region, particularly in the Sahel region, is a big source of worry, and that has been the case in the last few years, particularly with the heightening of the drug trafficking, just as the Prime Minister of Mali has just mentioned, and then the rise of terrorist activities that hastened, that was a result of the situation in Libya, and now we have it in Nigeria as well. Just as we were told, the response would not be just from one country. We in Niger, where we are very conscious of what is happening, and this is why from the outset, when the situation began to grow worse in Libya, we already decided to anticipate what will happen in this neighboring country, and we took measures to ensure that we will be able to take care of the after effects in our country. Unfortunately, of course, the reality now occurred to the west of our country, and we felt we were directly concerned because security has no borders. Where there is insecurity in Mali or in Niger, of course, it concerns everyone, and we are very much interested in ensuring that we can deal with this kind of a threat. In fact, the response will be found first in the civil society, because we have an experience of this in Niger, and you must have a population, you must have a people that will agree to say no to all the mafia activities, all the insecurity, and that you have a population that will no longer agree to live in fear. And then you have a solid structure, national structure for security, because to do this, it is absolutely indispensable that each country